95-year-old American actor, singer, and dancer Dick Van Dyke has had an impressive, to say the least, career over the past 70 years. Originally a radio and TV entertainer in the 40s, Dick's career began to take off in 1961 when he starred in the original Broadway production of Bye Bye Birdie. His career took off so much from this role he won a Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical for his performance. He was then cast by Carl Reiner as Rob Petrie on CBS's The Dick Van Dyke Show, which really excelled his path to fame. Since that show, which ran from 1961 to 66, Dick Van Dyke has starred in an incredibly long list of movies and TV shows, including Bye Bye Birdie, Mary Poppins, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, The Carol Burnett Show, Night at the Museum, and most recently, Mary Poppins Returns, which he filmed at a remarkable 91 years old. So what does the lifestyle of someone who's been working in Hollywood for 7 decades look like? Stick around and we'll tell you. As expected from someone who's had many a starring movie role, 5 Primetime Emmy Awards, a Tony Award, and a Grammy Award, Dick Van Dyke has done quite well for himself. According to Celebrity Net Worth, he has an estimated net worth of $50 million. To put that in perspective, DQYDJ reported that in 2020, the average household net worth was $746,000. Needless to say, Dick Van Dyke is way beyond average, and that goes beyond just his dance moves. So how exactly has he spent that fortune? For starters, he's invested in some very nice real estate. Dick Van Dyke was formerly the owner of a 12,000 square foot home in Encino, California that sits on more than an acre of land. The 3-bedroom, 5.5-bath house has a theater and billiard room, a fitness room, a tennis court, and a wine cellar. In the late 90s, the home was sold for $1.25 million. And in 2016, it was sold again for $6.5 million, even though its original listing price was $8.995. An interview with The Day reports that Dick Van Dyke bought a home in Malibu in 1986 from Canadian-American actress Margot Kidder. The 2,200-square-foot, 3-bedroom house was built in 1973, is about a mile from the beach, and is on about 1/3 of an acre of land. Kidder sold the home to him for $750,000. Today, as reported by Heavy, the Malibu pad is worth $5.2 million. That's not too bad of a profit. Dick Van Dyke also owns the childhood home where he grew up in Danville, Illinois. While he described the home as a, quote, simple 2-story frame house, he did at one point have plans to renovate it and turn it into a museum and make it the headquarters for his scholarship foundation, the Dick Van Dyke Foundation, Inc. As of December 2020, the Commercial News reported that renovations had yet to begin. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. In addition to real estate, Dick Van Dyke has also done investing in pricey cars. After his Jaguar XJ caught fire and was destroyed in 2013, don't worry, he was totally unharmed, it came out that Dick Van Dyke was a lover of the luxury car brand. He loves Jaguars so much that even one catching on fire didn't stop him from getting a new one. In fact, he bought himself a new one right after the accident. Having money is, of course, nice, but it can't necessarily keep you healthy and doesn't guarantee you'll live a long life. To live to be 95, like Dick Van Dyke, you have to spend at least some time taking care of yourself and focusing on your health. And that's exactly what Dick Van Dyke does. When CBS This Morning interviewed him at his Malibu home in June of 2021, the actor made sure viewers got a look at his daily workout routine, sit-ups and leg circles included. Dick stressed the importance of staying active even at his age and credited his regularly active lifestyle for his ability to still dance. In fact, he can still dance so well, he chose to learn and perform the hardest version of a dance while he was reprising his role in 2018's Mary Poppins Returns. That dance included jumping up onto a desk, which he did on his own. He's a big proponent of keeping yourself moving, which he stresses numerous times in his book, Keep Moving and Other Tips and Truths About Aging. Dick Van Dyke also advises not going down stairs sideways, as it tends to throw your hips and back out. Additionally, he credits his optimism for his ability to keep going. During a 2015 interview with NPR, he shared that he gets up on the right side of the bed each morning, enjoys a cup of coffee, and heads to the gym before he has the chance to talk himself out of it. Positive vibes only for Dick Van Dyke. He's certainly leading an impressive active lifestyle for someone his age, but it doesn't mean he hasn't had to make some sacrifices, such as playing tennis, which he apparently retired from doing. But lucky for us, he's still singing and dancing. Dick and his makeup artist wife Arlene Silver have been married for 7 years. The two met at the SAG Awards in 2013 when Van Dyke was 86, and while their friendship blossomed quickly, the romance part took a little longer. but they got there and soon fell in love. Despite the 46-year age gap between the two, Dick claims the decision to marry Arlene was one of the smartest and best moves he's ever made. Arlene has said they have a fairy tale romance and Dick is still young at heart. The two were even working on a TV show about their relationship and their life at home at one point. Prior to his marriage to Arlene, Dick Van Dyke was married to Marjorie Willett for 36 years before divorcing in 1984. They have 4 children together. Van Dyke then lived with his longtime companion, actress Michelle Triola Marvin, for 30 years before she passed away in 2009. Clearly, age has not kept Dick from doing anything, marrying later in life, sit-ups, jumping on desks, and acting. And Mary Poppins Returns wasn't his only acting credit as of late. In 2015, he appeared on an episode of The Middle and then did 2 episodes of Kidding in 2020. He also starred in the 2017 independent comedy Capture the Flag, which was produced by Barry Van Dyke, one of his sons. In May 2021, Dick Van Dyke was honored at the 43rd Kennedy Center Honors, where none other than Mary Poppins herself, Julie Andrews, introduced him. Andrews described her Mary Poppins co-star as, quote, an artist, a one-man band, a profound philosopher, a high-stepping showman, and spreader of charm, in addition to being endlessly kind, wildly imaginative, insanely talented, and hilariously funny. Steve Martin, Van Dyke's Bye Bye Birdie co-star Cheetah Rivera, Bryan Cranston, and Lin-Manuel Miranda, who worked alongside Dick in Mary Poppins Returns, were also there to pay tribute to the Hollywood legend. Prior to receiving the Kennedy Center honor, he sat down with Today's Al Roker for an interview where he reflected on his career. His love of entertainment and passion for acting shines through in the interview, and Van Dyke says he doesn't know what he would do if acting wasn't a part of his life. He even still has aspirations of performing Shakespeare's King Lear. Needless to say, he's not stopping or slowing down anytime soon. In addition to his Grammy, his Tony Award, and 5 Primetime Emmy wins, he's been nominated for 10 Primetime Emmy Awards. He also received the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award in 2013. Dick Van Dyke was born December 13, 1925, in West Plains, Missouri, to a salesman father and stenographer mother. His family was devoutly Presbyterian, and he served as a deacon in his church as a teenager. He considered becoming a minister at one point, but eventually decided on a different career path. Van Dyke left high school in 1944, his senior year, to join the Air Force, but was denied enlistment several times for being underweight. He was eventually accepted for service as a radio announcer, then transferred to the Special Services, where he entertained troops in the continental U.S. He loved being a radio announcer, but didn't think he had a future in the entertainment industry. His dream was to become a TV announcer, but he thought his chances were so slim that he didn't take it seriously. Instead, he went home to Danville, Illinois after the war and opened his own advertising agency. But the agency shut its doors after a year because he couldn't find enough business. After the agency failed, he started looking for opportunities to perform again. His transition to a TV and film star didn't happen immediately. After leaving the world of advertising, he and a friend joined up to create a pantomime act. They called themselves the Merry Mutes and lip-synced to songs in nightclubs with comedic elements added to the show. They traveled around the country performing, but Van Dyke still didn't know if he could turn it into a career. The Merry Mutes performed from 1947 to 53, when he started working on TV, appearing as the host of various game shows. In the early 60s, he decided to try his hand at musical theater. He needed to make some money and figured it couldn't hurt to try out. After landing a small part in The Girls Against the Boys, he decided to go for a part in Bye Bye Birdie. The problem was he had no dance experience and the audition required him to dance. He got up and sang a song from Music Man and did a little soft shoe, which was enough to land him the role of Albert Peterson. Fortunately, it turned out he had a knack for dancing. He said of the experience, it was like flying, learning those dance steps. In 1961, he landed the starring role as Rob Petrie in The Dick Van Dyke Show, which continued for 5 seasons. Van Dyke almost missed out on this role, though. The writer of the show, Carl Reiner, originally wrote the part for himself. He played the role in the series pilot, but producers quickly realized he wasn't a good fit. As it turned out, Van Dyke saw the pilot and agreed Reiner wasn't right for it. Reiner ended up casting Van Dyke for the role and let him play himself. After he received several scripts from Reiner, which he loved, he dropped out of another pilot he was scheduled to shoot, and the rest is history. Van Dyke started his film career in 1963 in the role of Albert Peterson, the same role he played on stage in the film adaptation of Bye Bye Birdie. He wasn't happy with the end result, as he felt the film changed the focus of the story to a different character than the stage musical, but it was a success nonetheless. The following year, he appeared in what is probably his most famous role, the chimney sweep Bert in Disney's Mary Poppins. That film led to Van Dyke being teased about his embarrassing Cockney accent for decades after. He said people in the UK especially loved to rib him about the accent. His vocal trainer for the movie was Irish, and his Cockney accent was no better than Van Dyke's. Unfortunately, no one on the set ever mentioned it to him, so he didn't realize how inauthentic it really was. Van Dyke once formally apologized for it after winning a BAFTA award, telling the audience he appreciated the opportunity to apologize for the most atrocious Cockney accent in the history of film. In 1968, Van Dyke starred in another popular role in Disney's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. While that film also took place in Britain, he insisted on using his native accent to avoid the same problem. Van Dyke continued to star in movies and TV throughout the next 50 years, with roles in popular shows like The Carol Burnett Show, Matlock, Highway to Heaven, and The Golden Girls. He also played the lead role of Dr. Mark Sloan in Diagnosis Murder from 1993 to 2001. In 1991, he became interested in computer animation when he bought a Commodore Amiga computer. He was credited with creating the 3D rendered effects used on Diagnosis Murder and The Dick Van Dyke Show Revisited. His computer-generated images have been on display at SIGGRAPH, and he continues to work with modern computer animation tools. While he's now 95 years old, he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. In his memoir, Keep Moving, he says the love of dance has kept him young. If he's out shopping and hears music playing, he'll start to dance, he says. He still likes to sing and gets excited about new ideas he reads in books. He says he likes to enjoy himself. He doesn't think about the way he's supposed to act at his age, or any age for that matter. Van Dyke is still finding ways to leave his mark on the world, but this time he probably didn't want the world to know. He's recently been seen handing out wads of cash to job seekers at the Malibu Community Labor Exchange in LA. According to its website, the Malibu Community Labor Exchange is a community-created nonprofit that provides a supportive and organized place for the people of Malibu to hire and be hired. Malibu is a very affluent community that's known as a home to many celebrities. Van Dyke surprised the job seekers with his generosity when he pulled up in his car and started passing out cash to the people waiting in line. We don't know how much money Van Dyke handed out, but photos taken at the scene show some pretty happy recipients. Meeting the beloved actor was probably part of the reason they were so happy. This isn't the first time Van Dyke has shown his generosity. He's worked as a volunteer at LA's century-old shelter, the Midnight Mission, for over 20 years. He's also been a spokesperson for the National Ray's Syndrome Foundation and the Cell Therapy Foundation. Van Dyke continues to work, having recently worked as a consultant on Disney's WandaVision show, which pays homage to the Dick Van Dyke Show. He also appeared in the recent film Mary Poppins Returns. Despite being well into his 90s, he did a dance number on the desk in the film. He jumped onto the desk himself without a stunt double. Van Dyke's Instagram profile is full of updates showing a very active person full of life and excitement. While in the middle of the COVID pandemic, he shared a post in October showing his love of Halloween. He credits his wife Arlene Van Dyke with making it all work. The gated community where they live became a safe drive-through Halloween party. He's not only active physically, he's all there mentally too. As he regularly assures fans, he's still got all his marbles. Jeannie Cook, the executive director of the Danville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, recalls Van Dyke's visit to his hometown of Danville several years ago. During his visit to Danville High School, students broke out into the Danville High School fight song. Van Dyke surprised everyone by singing along to every word. While he may not be as prolific as in his younger days, Van Dyke continues to act at 95. His IMDb profile shows he's playing the role of James Archer in Capture the Flag, which is currently in pre-production. Dick Van Dyke was born December 13, 1925. His career has lasted for over 7 decades, and he's still working today at 95 years old. When Dick was young, he made the decision to drop out of high school and pursue a career in the U.S. Army Air Force. This was during World War II when volunteers were greatly needed. However, Dick came in underweight and was denied enrollment numerous times. But he kept trying. In his mind, if he pestered them long enough, they were inevitably going to give him a job. Eventually, he was given a position as a radio announcer for the Army. Although it wasn't what he had in mind, this experience ended up serving the young man well. He performed this duty for a few years before coming home and used his experience as an announcer in the Army to get a job as a radio jockey in Illinois. In 1947, he formed a pantomime duo with a friend, and the two toured in nightclubs to some success. In 1948, he decided to marry his longtime girlfriend, Margie Willett. The two had been dating for years, but couldn't afford marriage until a fellow DJ offered to pay for the ceremony on the condition that the couple allowed for the wedding to be broadcast on the radio. The show was called Bride and Groom and was centered around the concept of real marriages being recorded and broadcast. The couple gladly took the opportunity, resulting in their marriage being broadcast to many long before Dick's rise to fame. Despite her husband being bound for stardom, Maggie had a distaste for Hollywood and the type of people she found there. The earthy woman generally chose not to wear makeup, and she and her husband were often mistaken for brother and sister. Dick recalled once that Margie went to the store and purchased all the copies she could find of a particular magazine with her husband on the cover. When the cashier saw her strange purpose, he asked her if she was Dick's mother. This didn't go over well at parties, where Margie was often trampled over by other guests who assumed she was just some stranger. Despite their differences, Dick and Margie were together for many years. They had 4 children, and the family unit seemed stable and happy. Nearly a decade after the marriage, Dick was set to make his debut on Broadway. The show was The Girls Against the Boys, and Dick was nervous. He had gotten the lead after auditioning for a minor role. He was chosen based on charisma alone and had no experience whatsoever as a dancer. Thankfully, he proved to be a fast learner. He won a Tony Award for his performance, and many see this role as his big break. In 1961, Dick was given the lead role of his own CBS sitcom. Originally a role Carl Reiner had written for himself, Reiner opted out and suggested Dick as his replacement. Dick gladly accepted, and the rest is history. He portrayed the character of Rob Petrie, a comedy writer. A 23-year-old Mary Tyler Moore played his wife. The show was a major success, launching both of them into TV stardom. The show stayed on the air until 1966. Over the span of the show's run, Dick could be seen in a couple of notable roles on cinema screens as well. As a result of his incredible success on Broadway, Dick got the lead role in a film adaptation of Bye Bye Birdie in 1963. The musical had only debuted a few years prior and proved incredibly popular. The film adaptation gained Dick further mainstream fame. However, his next role is arguably the one he's become most known for. In 1964, Dick was added to the cast of Walt Disney's Mary Poppins in 2 separate roles. Not only did he play one of the main roles of Bert the Chimney Sweep, but he also played the villainous role of bank chairman Mr. Dawes. This musical adaptation of the British book series featured Dick in all of his singing and dancing glory, and it made him an icon. In 1971, he was given a new sitcom in the form of The New Dick Van Dyke Show. This show saw him return to working with the Dick Van Dyke Show's Carl Reiner. Although the show was often praised, it didn't get much traction with audiences. Dick considered the show an artistic failure a few years in and decided to end it after only 3 seasons. Over the course of the show's run, Dick began having increasing troubles with alcohol. He'd always been a drinker, but the 70s saw him become a full-blown alcoholic. At the same time, his wife was secretly becoming increasingly dependent on prescription meds. The two eventually overcame their problems, but not before being driven apart. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Dick Van Dyke has always said he tried his best to be a positive role model for his 4 children, but his alcohol dependency often made this a difficult task. He has said he suffered from alcohol dependency for 25 years before eventually confronting his problem and seeking help. He decided to go to a rehab clinic. Inspired by her husband, Margie checked into the rehab clinic for her own substance abuse issues soon after him. Dick has said he believes he and his wife were seeking out drugs and alcohol as a means to cope with their failing marriage. Soon after rehab, the two took long breaks from being around each other. As their relationship grew apart, Dick began to become romantically involved with his agent's secretary. She was a struggling actress named Michelle Triola. While Margie always hated Hollywood, Michelle loved it. Dick got along with Michelle in a way he never managed to get along with Margie, and that ultimately led to an affair with Michelle. Although he and his wife hadn't been getting along, Dick recalls writhing in guilt as he got deeper and deeper into his extramarital relationship with Michelle. The affair lasted 8 years before Dick's divorce from Margie was finalized in 1984. Afterwards, he and Michelle maintained a romantic relationship until her death. Since his trip to rehab, Dyke has said he has relapsed into alcoholism numerous times. However, his battle with these demons came to an end one day when the taste of alcohol just randomly began making him ill. In 2008, Margie died after being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The two had maintained a close relationship since their divorce, and Dyke was devastated when he heard the news. Only a year later, Michelle was diagnosed with lung cancer. She died soon after, spending her final days in a coma as the broken-hearted Dyke sang her goodbyes. Soon after Michelle's death, he began dating Arlene Silver. She was a makeup artist who Dyke met at the Screen Actors Guild Awards dinner. The couple made headlines when the press got wind of the fact that Dyke was 46 years older than his new girlfriend. However, this age gap didn't stop the two from getting married in 2012. Although Dyke's loved ones were initially skeptical of their father's much younger new wife, she eventually won them over. The two have been successfully married since, and Dyke has continued to find work in Hollywood. After nearly a century, Dyke has lived long enough to see many of his contemporaries and loved ones pass on. He holds a lot of regret about his nearly 40-year marriage to Margie, but that doesn't stop him from doing his best with his current one. Dyke has learned it's important to be able to relate to the person you're trying to spend your life with. At 95, Dyke Van Dyke is one of Hollywood's most veteran performers. Over the course of his career, he has performed many iconic roles. When Dyke Van Dyke first broke out into the entertainment industry over 60 years ago, few could have predicted that the beloved entertainer would still be around today. He's currently 96, and he's still dancing like he was during his prime. This past Valentine's Day, Dyke took the opportunity to show off those seemingly immortal dance moves, as well as his much younger wife. For the past 10 years, Dyke has been married to a woman nearly half his age. While 50-year-old Arlene Silver would certainly be no spring chicken to the average beau, the fact of the matter is she's 46 years Dyke Van Dyke's junior. To celebrate Valentine's Day 2022, Dyke and Arlene posted a video showing the two of them singing and dancing to the song Everybody Loves a Lover, which Doris Day popularized in 1958. That was around the time Dyke Van Dyke was first breaking out into the entertainment industry, and before Arlene Silver was even born. The video showed that Dyke still has the moves, and the beloved entertainer says he has Arlene to thank for much of his continued vitality. According to Dyke, Arlene loves to sing and dance, which is something the two of them do every day. While one might imagine Dyke's praise of Arlene is one-sided given the immense age gap between the two, it seems this is far from the truth. Arlene seems just as deeply in love with Dyke as he is with her, claiming that Dyke is one of the most perfect human beings she's ever come into contact with. According to Arlene, being with Dyke is always like being under the influence of happy pills. In 2007, they first happened upon each other. The occasion was the Screen Actors Guild Awards, and Dyke was there as the presenter chosen to give former Mary Poppins co-star Julie Andrews her much-deserved Lifetime Achievement Award. When it came time for Dyke to get his makeup done prior to his appearance on stage, it was Arlene who was tasked with powdering the beloved entertainer's face. Arlene recognized the star and attempted to make conversation by bringing up Mary Poppins, which was released before she was alive. Dyke took her attempt at conversations kindly, and the two found themselves getting along. According to Arlene, the age gap was never an issue. After meeting Arlene, Dyke Van Dyke had already had two very long and serious relationships throughout his lifetime, and he wasn't really looking for another. However, he found himself stricken with the makeup artist, despite his concerns that the public might balk at their relationship's age gap. According to Dyke Van Dyke, he thought there was going to be a public outcry as soon as he made his relationship public. He claims he was afraid his fans would label Arlene a gold digger on account of his $50 million net worth. Thankfully, if any fans were worried about it, those concerns have likely been put to rest now that Dyke and Arlene have been happily married for 10 years. They celebrated their 10-year wedding anniversary 2 weeks after posting that Valentine's Day video. When they met, Dyke was 81 years old and Arlene was only 35. Now, 15 years later, they're just as in love as they've always been. Besides his relationship with Arlene, Dyke claims he has numerous other tricks that help him feeling young at age 96, including lifting weights, running on the treadmill, and water aerobics. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. And stick around for more about Dyke Van Dyke and Arlene Silver. While Dyke certainly credits his loving marriage to Arlene with much of his continued vitality, he also claims he has other tricks for staying healthy in his twilight years. He likes to stay incredibly active, going to the gym upwards of 3 times a week. His favorite thing to do there is apparently water aerobics, spending a majority of his time in the gym's pool. He also likes to lift weights and run on the treadmill. Besides that, he stays active at home by singing and dancing. This includes the time he spends singing and dancing with Arlene. According to Dyke, he'll start tapping as soon as he finds himself on solid ground. The star also keeps a winning sense of humor in his old age, attributing much of his vitality to good genes. He also apparently feels he's lucky that he's never been ran over by a bus. When Dyke was younger, he smoked and drank, which are two things the star evidently gave up many decades ago. According to Dyke, the important thing for people to realize in their lives is they just need to keep on moving, whether that means exercising routinely or simply moving on from the past. One might think Dyke is incredibly blessed to be able to do what he does at his old age, but he still has his struggles. According to him, he suffers from arthritis and numerous other issues that work to impede him during his workouts, but he perseveres. He didn't start singing and dancing until he was already in his 30s, so maybe he's making up for time now. The star has always been incredibly optimistic, claiming he's rarely fallen into a funk that he hasn't been able to talk himself out of. With the star having appeared in happy-go-lucky pictures like Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, this positive attitude makes a lot of sense. Arlene Silver is Dick Van Dyke's second wife, with the star having been married for nearly 4 decades previously. His first wife was a woman named Margie Willett. Dyke married Margie in 1948 before breaking out into the entertainment industry. They had 4 children together. They were officially married until 1984, although they allegedly separated in 1976 after it came out that Dyke had been involved in an affair with actress Michelle Triola. By the time the two divorced, they'd been married for 36 years. Decades later, Margie passed away from pancreatic cancer in 2008. She was 81. Following his separation from Margie, Dyke entered into a serious relationship with Michelle Triola that lasted for nearly as long as his marriage to Margie did. Dyke and Michelle remained together until the latter's death. While Dyke's marriage to his first wife was more family-oriented, his marriage to Arlene Silver is all about having fun. The two claim their marriage has become a second childhood for the both of them. They say their romance is something out of a fairy tale, despite the fact that Dyke is nearly twice Arlene's age. She was born in September of 1971, at which point the Dick Van Dyke Show had already started and ended its production run. He was on to the new Dick Van Dyke Show, but that show sadly didn't live up to the hype. Arlene spent the early years of her childhood in New York before moving to California with her parents in 1981, where her mother worked as a bank clerk. Arlene always had dreams of living an extravagant Hollywood lifestyle. Before meeting Dick Van Dyke in 2007, the closest she ever got was doing makeup for award ceremonies. Dick seems to be happier and healthier than ever at age 96, and it looks like his marriage to Arlene Silver isn't ending anytime soon. If the public was concerned Arlene was a gold digger initially, those fears have likely fallen by the wayside over the past 10 years. Even though Dick Van Dyke is best known for his work as an actor, particularly in the film Mary Poppins and the beloved Dick Van Dyke Show, he was also incredibly talented as a comedian, singer, dancer, and writer. Even at age 95, Dick Van Dyke shows no signs of stopping work anytime soon, and his career has now spanned over 70 years. In public, Dick Van Dyke seems full of cheer and good humor. Tragically, however, this isn't always the case behind the scenes. Dick Van Dyke's personal life has been filled with tragedies and horrible struggles. In today's video, we're going to take a look at some of the personal difficulties Dick Van Dyke has faced, including 2 horrifying accidents that nearly resulted in death. Make sure you stick around because we're going to reveal how Dick Van Dyke barely survived a fiery car accident. Dick Van Dyke struggles with alcoholism. Dick used to suffer from debilitating shyness, which ended up having a negative impact on his friendships and even his career. He soon realized that drinking alcohol helped to lessen his shyness and boost his confidence. But what started out as a drink here and there to calm his nerves soon turned into several drinks every night. It wasn't until Dick Van Dyke was deep in the grip of alcoholism that he realized he had a serious problem. For the longest time, he didn't know what to do about this addiction. And it wasn't until he reached middle age that he was finally able to overcome his alcoholism with the support of friends, family, and rehabilitation programs. Dick Van Dyke kept rather quiet about his personal struggle with alcoholism until 2016, when he finally opened up about it. After confessing in an interview just how bad his addiction had gotten, he received an outpouring of support from fans. His near-death experience in a dangerous car crash. On August 19, 2013, Dick was driving down the 101 freeway in LA County. He was 87 years old and driving a Jaguar. In a matter of seconds, however, his car suddenly caught on fire. The actor was no doubt panicking greatly the moment he realized his vehicle was in flames, but he remained as calm as possible as he pulled off the side of the road. Even though his car was almost completely ablaze by then, he managed to escape the vehicle without any injuries. He flagged down help, but by the time the fire had been put out, the car was burnt to a crisp. Ever a comedian, Dick Van Dyke posted a picture of the burned vehicle on Twitter with the caption, "Used Jag for sale, real cheap." His struggles with social anxiety and depression. Mental health problems often end up being even more damaging to people of older generations. Back in the day, there was a lot more stigma surrounding mental health, as well as significantly less research. Many people were never able to put a name to their mental health struggles, and never learned coping mechanisms to help them get through the day. At a young age, Dick Van Dyke struggled with social anxiety, and was so shy it ended up having major negative effects on his relationships and even his career. As a result, he began drinking to help loosen himself up and became more confident while talking to strangers. He became terribly depressed as a result of his alcoholism, and at one dark point in his life even considered suicide. Thankfully, he was able to get the help he needed through reaching out and is doing much better today. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like, and be sure to subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. The death of his lover. Dick Van Dyke was involved in a long romance with actress Michelle Triola. The two were never married, but lived together for quite some time. Tragically, however, she was diagnosed with lung cancer. Dick Van Dyke did his best to remain optimistic, but he knew deep down she likely wouldn't make it. Once Triola asked if he thought she would die. He later recalled that he pretended he didn't know, which he stated was the hardest acting he'd ever done. Sure enough, on October 30th, 2009, Michelle Triola died at age 76. What made the loss even more difficult was that his ex-wife, Margie Willett, had died just 1 year earlier. It may be expected to start losing loved ones as you grow older, but unfortunately that doesn't make those deaths any easier. His near death from a surfboard accident. Dick Van Dyke once recalled an unbelievable story while being interviewed by Craig Ferguson. He said one day he'd gone surfing by the ocean. After a while, he laid down on his surfboard and soon fell asleep. When he awoke from his nap, he had drifted far from shore and had no idea where he was. When he looked down into the water, he saw what appeared to be a group of sharks circling him hungrily. After a moment, he realized the inquisitive animals were actually porpoises, and Dick Van Dyke claimed the marine mammals even helped him get back to shore by pushing him. Thankfully, he turned out all right. An affair that ended his marriage. Dick Van Dyke married actress Margie Willett in 1948, and the two lived happily for quite some time. But in 1972, both were treated for their own addictions. Dick was dealing with alcoholism, while Willett was suffering from drug abuse. Dick felt he was gradually drifting apart from his wife, and he soon became involved in an affair with Michelle Triola. But he felt deeply guilty about the affair and came clean to his wife in 1974. Margie took the news badly, and the two ended up living in separate houses before officially divorcing in 1984. Dick continued to stay with Michelle until her death, but he always felt horrible about his decision to cheat on his wife. Dick is no average 97-year-old man. Though Dick has been a favorite in celebrity death pools for years based on his age alone, he's actually incredibly healthy and physically active. Dick endeared himself to fans as a dancer during his career, and he's never stopped. According to the actor, he still can't help but tap his feet whenever he finds himself on solid ground. Staying active keeps Dick alive and in good spirits, so it's not too surprising he was able to recover from his recent car crash fairly quickly. Another thing that helps Dick stay in good spirits is his wife. He's been married twice, once to first wife Margie Willett from 1948 to 84. Since 2012, he's been married to Arlene Silver. Given that she's in her 50s, she's no spring chicken, but the fact that she's nearly half her husband's age has led to many jokes about Dick robbing the cradle. It seems Dick and Arlene get along swimmingly and share a youthful spirit. Arlene also helped her husband out when it came to his recent appearance on the show The Masked Singer. Dick Van Dyke has been keeping himself active in many ways as of late, perhaps because he's privy to the fact that so many people are expecting him to drop dead at any moment. Besides paying homage to his original Mary Poppins role in 2018's Mary Poppins Returns, he notably appeared on The Masked Singer recently. He showed up during the premiere of the 9th season and ended up being the first celebrity figure to be unmasked. When it came time for him to perform, judges Jenny McCarthy and Ken Jeong had a very hard time guessing who he was. Dyke mildly impressed the judges on The Masked Singer. Before it was determined that the masked singer in question was Dick Van Dyke, some of the guesses the judges blurted out included Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro, and Tony Bennett. When Dyke heard his voice being compared to Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro, he got upset, because those aren't figures known for their great singing voices. But being compared to Tony Bennett helped boost his self-esteem. The actor predicted that none of the judges would be able to accurately guess who he was behind the mask, and he ended up being right. During his performance, he sang the Frank Sinatra classic, When You're Smiling. According to Dyke, the producers wanted him to choose a song that was a bit more modern. But a problem arose when it was revealed that Dyke didn't even have a cursory familiarity with any of the modern hits being suggested. That's when wife Arlene stepped in and suggested the Sinatra song. Given the air of secrecy that's kept on the set of The Masked Singer, Dick Van Dyke claimed he didn't even get a chance to meet any of the show's judges. In addition to Ken Jeong and Jenny McCarthy, these also include Robin Thicke and Nicole Scherzinger. According to Dyke, he was blindfolded before being brought out of his car into the studio, and he remained either blindfolded or masked for the duration of his participation. To keep him from falling, people guided him around. When it was revealed Dyke had been eliminated, the 97-year-old performer took the news with a positive attitude. He broke into a brief rendition of the Mary Poppins classic Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, leaving fans with a spoonful of sugar in their mouths. To this day, Dyke considers his appearance in Mary Poppins to be the height of his career. He says getting to work with Walt Disney was a dream come true, and he went on to do it a couple more times before the legendary mogul's death. Dyke still reminisces about filming Mary Poppins. Getting the chance to appear on the big screen in Mary Poppins was a big deal for Dick Van Dyke, but that doesn't mean everything was going well in his life around that time. The 1960s was the period when Dyke's aforementioned alcoholism was at its worst. He claims everyone in his life was drinking heavily at the time, and he had nowhere to turn for a positive influence. During the filming of Mary Poppins, his alcoholism allegedly became so bad that he considered suicide. But his alcoholism also left him rather unceremoniously, with the actor claiming he simply woke up one day and no longer thought alcohol tasted good. Since then, numerous decades have passed without the performer having any kind of relapse. That has certainly helped him stay active and healthy into his twilight years. Other notable things he's done in recent years include paying a tribute to a speech he gave at a civil rights rally in 1964, as well as some modest philanthropy. In 1964, he delivered a speech at a civil rights rally that was keynoted by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On the late King Jr.'s most recent birthday, Dyke dug up an old copy of his speech and performed a rendition of it for YouTube. He's always been passionate about humanitarian causes. In 2022, Dyke was spotted handing out $5 bills to people hanging out in front of the Malibu Community Labor Exchange. He's also done many other philanthropic things over the years. He volunteered at a homeless shelter in LA for about 2 decades, and he's the spokesperson for several altruistic medical foundations. As a result of his varied philanthropic efforts, he was awarded the Prince Rainier III Humanitarian Award in 2014 by the Princess Grace Foundation. The award included a prize of $25,000 that was donated to Dyke's charity of choice. Dyke and Mary. Dick Van Dyke was the star of the classic 1960s television series The Dick Van Dyke Show. And yes, Dyke has confessed to having a crush on co-star Mary Tyler Moore during their time working together on the show. The chemistry between Dyke and Mary, who portrayed Rob and Laura Petrie, was one of the defining elements of the show's success. Their on-screen relationship as a happily married couple was filled with wit, humor, and genuine affection, making them one of TV's most beloved couples. But the chemistry didn't stop when the cameras stopped rolling. In interviews and memoirs, Dick Van Dyke has openly admitted that he had a genuine crush on Mary during their time on the show. He found her beauty, talent, and vivacious personality irresistible. This candid confession adds a charming layer of authenticity to the chemistry viewers saw on screen. Their friendship and mutual respect translated into a dynamic partnership that contributed to the show's enduring popularity. Despite his crush, though, Dick Van Dyke's professionalism didn't waver, and their working relationship remained strong through the show's run. The admiration he felt for Mary was a testament to the genuine bond they shared both on and off the screen. However, Dick's romantic life hasn't been without scandals. Dick's marriages. Dick's personal life has been marked by his marriages, including a notable affair with Michelle Triola and a loving relationship with Arlene Silver in his later years. His first marriage was to Margie Willett in 1948. They had 4 children together: Christian, Barry, Carrie Beth, and Stacy. The marriage lasted 36 years, but faced challenges over the years, eventually leading to their divorce in 1984. The divorce was amicable, and they remained on friendly terms as co-parents to their children. In the mid-70s, during his marriage to Margie, Dick had a highly publicized affair with Michelle Triola, an actress and singer. Their relationship garnered significant media attention due to a legal battle that ensued. Triola sought financial support from Van Dyke, arguing for the concept of palimony, which was a novel legal claim at the time. The court case brought the issue of financial support for unmarried partners into the public eye and ended with a settlement that provided Triola with a financial winning. Dick Van Dyke's second marriage took place in 2012 when he married Arlene Silver, a makeup artist. Their love story is particularly heartwarming as there is a significant age difference between the two. Despite the age gap, their relationship has been characterized by mutual affection and respect. They met at the SAG Awards in 2006, where Arlene was working as a makeup artist. The connection was immediate, and they maintained a close friendship for several years before the romantic relationship blossomed. Dick's marriage to Arlene has been a source of joy and stability in his later years. Despite the age disparity, they have consistently spoken about the deep love they have for each other. The bond is a testament to the enduring power of love and companionship. In the last couple of decades, they've enjoyed their life together, sharing various interests and adventures. They've often made public appearances as a couple and have been supportive of each other's endeavors. Arlene, who is also a caregiver, has been a pillar of support for Dick Van Dyke as he navigated the challenges that come with aging. Family has always been important to Dick. His children have followed in his footsteps to some extent, with Barry becoming a musician and Christian pursuing a career in entertainment. Dick is a doting father and grandfather and has often shared his love for his family in interviews and public appearances. Dick's affair. Let's talk a little bit more about the affair with Michelle Triola. Dick has been quite candid about it and the subsequent legal battle that garnered significant media attention. During the affair, Dick was still married to Margie. His relationship with Triola became public knowledge and led to that legal case revolving around financial support for Triola. Dick has expressed regret about the affair and acknowledged it was a difficult and painful period in his life. He described the affair as a mistake and a lapse in judgment, recognizing that it caused emotional distress to his then-wife Margie and their family. Dick hasn't shied away from discussing the consequences of his actions and the impact it had on his personal and professional life. He's used it as an opportunity to impart lessons about personal responsibility and the importance of making amends for one's mistakes. The age gap controversy. Dick Van Dyke's marriage to Arlene Silver has drawn attention due to that significant age gap. Dick was born in 1925, while Arlene was born in 1971. This age difference of nearly 46 years is substantial by any measure. Despite the gap, the couple has consistently emphasized that their relationship is built on genuine love and compatibility rather than material concerns. They have addressed the issue of the age gap and the unfounded notion that Arlene might be a gold digger in several interviews. In one, Dick humorously remarked, quote, "I'm not a scoundrel. Michelle Triola had a gold mine. Arlene's got a gold mine now." This witty response underscored that their relationship was not motivated by financial gain, but rather by mutual affection. Arlene Silver has also spoken about the age gap and the judgments people sometimes make. She's expressed she was always attracted to older men and that age was never a factor in their relationship. She's emphasized that her love for Dick goes beyond age, highlighting the strong emotional connection they share. Over the years, the couple's enduring love and their ability to embrace their age difference while deflecting unfounded rumors have become a testament to the strength of their relationship. Dick's interests and hobbies. Beyond acting, Dick has had a variety of interests and hobbies throughout his life. He's an accomplished singer and dancer, talents that he often showcased in his film and television roles. He's also a passionate advocate for causes he believes in, such as children's rights and environmental conservation. Dick is an avid supporter of the performing arts and has been involved with various theater and musical projects throughout his career. He's also a renowned enthusiast of classic cars and has a collection of vintage automobiles, including the iconic 1928 Model A Ford. He's also maintained an active and health-conscious lifestyle. Even into his later years, he's been an advocate for staying physically fit, emphasizing the importance of regular exercise and healthy living. His personal life reflects his commitment to family, his diverse interests, and his enduring passion for the performing arts. His marriages, family life, and multifaceted hobbies have played a role in shaping the well-rounded and beloved individual that fans and colleagues have come to admire over the years. It seems that even the most talented and seemingly down-to-earth performers can get wrapped up in secret affairs and scandalous relationships, though it's clear that Dick Van Dyke's legacy as an actor won't be tarnished by his various relationships either way. Early life and career. Mary Tyler Moore was born December 29, 1936 in Brooklyn and grew up in a Catholic family in Flushing, Queens. Her aspirations for a career in entertainment began early, influenced by her uncle, an MCA executive who introduced her to the world of showbiz. After moving to Los Angeles at age 8, she attended Immaculate Heart High School. She initially dreamed of becoming a dancer, and she got her first break as a happy Hot Point elf in television commercials during the 50s. Her big break came in 1961 when she was cast as Laura Petrie on The Dick Van Dyke Show. Her portrayal of the winning and charming wife of Rob Petrie quickly made her a household name. Creator Carl Reiner initially had reservations about casting her, but once she auditioned, he was convinced. Quote, "I saw her and I thought, wow, that's what Laura Petrie should look like." The chemistry between Moore and her co-star Dick Van Dyke was undeniable, and the show became a critical and commercial success, running for 5 seasons and earning Moore her first Emmy Award in 1964. The role allowed Moore to showcase her comedic timing and dance skills, but it also presented her as a modern, fashionable woman who broke the mold of typical television housewives of that era. In a 1997 interview with the Television Academy Foundation, she reflected on her time on the show. Quote, "It was a wonderful time in my life. We all got along so well, and it was just a joy to go to work every day." She continued to build on her success with The Mary Tyler Moore Show, which premiered in 1970. This not only solidified her status as a TV icon, but also became a cultural touchstone for its portrayal of a single, career-driven woman. Throughout her career, her talent and versatility shined through in various roles in film and television. She starred in movies like Thoroughly Modern Millie and Ordinary People, the latter earning her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. Marriages and relationships. Her first marriage was to Richard Carlton Meeker in 1955 when she was 18. The marriage was relatively short-lived but resulted in the birth of her only son Richard Jr., known as Richie. Mary often spoke about her early years of marriage and motherhood, reflecting on how they coincided with the early stages of her career. She once said, quote, "I married my first husband because we wanted to sleep together. It lasted about 6 years because we were in love, and together we had a son." Tragically, Richie's life was cut short in 1980 when he accidentally shot himself. The event was a devastating blow for Mary, who carried the weight of his loss for the rest of her life. She married television executive Grant Tinker in 1962, marking a significant period in her life and career. Tinker was instrumental in the creation of MTM Enterprises, a production company that produced The Mary Tyler Moore Show and other series. Tinker once described the relationship saying, "We made each other better." But the pressures of their careers and personal issues eventually led to their divorce in 1981. Mary's third and final marriage was to Dr. Robert Levine, a cardiologist she met in 1982 when her mother was a patient at the hospital where he worked. They married in 1983, and this relationship brought Mary a sense of stability and companionship in her later years. Levine, who was 15 years her junior, was described by Mary as her knight in shining armor. In her memoir, she wrote, "I've been married to a wonderful man for the past 19 years, and he's kept me happy and healthy and laughing." After her passing, Levine talked about what Mary was like at home, away from the spotlight.
She really was very, very reserved. So on the one hand, the smile was there, and that was essential Mary, and it was truthful and honest and genuine. But there was also that part of her that really wanted to go be alone and sit and read and explore, and be curious about the world.
And I assure you that I miss every one of the people on the Van Dyke Show desperately. They became my good friends, my only friends, really.
Friendship with Dick Van Dyke. Mary's friendship with Dick Van Dyke is one of the most cherished relationships in TV history. They met when they were cast as husband and wife in The Dick Van Dyke Show. Their on-screen chemistry was immediate and undeniable, making them one of TV's most beloved couples. Off-screen, they developed a deep and lasting friendship that endured for decades. Despite persistent rumors over the years suggesting an affair between them, both Moore and Van Dyke consistently denied any romantic involvement. In a 2011 interview with the Archive of American Television, Van Dyke addressed the rumors, stating, quote, "People really thought Mary and I were married. They thought we were having an affair. We weren't, but I did have a crush on her." Mary was also always quick to qualify the fact that their relationship was purely platonic and deeply rooted in mutual respect and affection. Their friendship continued long after the Dick Van Dyke Show ended. They reunited on several occasions for special projects and tributes. In 2012, they both appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Dick Van Dyke Show. The affection and respect they had for each other were evident in every interaction, on screen and off. When Mary Tyler Moore passed away in 2017, Van Dyke was among those who paid tribute to her legacy. In an emotional statement, he said, quote, "There are no words. She was one of a kind, and she left the world a better place." The rumors of an affair between Moore and Van Dyke, while persistent, were ultimately unfounded. Dick did admit to the fact that the two likely had crushes on each other. In fact, he talked to his therapist about it at the time.
I asked a psychiatrist, we'd be rehearsing, and suddenly we would both start to giggle for no reason. And I said, "What is that?" She said, "You're attracted to one another," which certainly helped with the acting.
Tensions with Rosemarie. The professional relationship between Mary Tyler Moore and Rosemarie on the Dick Van Dyke Show was marked by an underlying tension that occasionally spilled over into the rivalry. Rosemarie, a seasoned performer who had been in show business since childhood, played the sharp-tongued comedy writer Sally Rogers. Moore, on the other hand, was relatively new to television when she landed the role of Laura Petrie. This dynamic set the stage for a complex relationship between the two actresses. According to Georgiana Noopy Guy Rodriguez, Rosemarie's daughter, there was a notable lack of closeness between her mother and Moore. In an interview, Rodriguez explained, "They weren't friends. There was a professional rivalry there. My mother had been in the business her whole life, and suddenly there was this younger actress getting a lot of attention." Rosemarie herself was candid about the dynamic between her and Moore. In her autobiography, she wrote, "We were never close. Mary was very talented, but we just didn't click. There was a bit of jealousy, maybe on both sides." Despite this, both actresses maintained a professional demeanor on set, and their performances never betrayed any personal discord. The respect for their craft ensured that their characters' interactions remained engaging and authentic. Moore also acknowledged the tension in a more diplomatic manner. In an interview with the New York Times, she once said, quote, "Rosemarie was a wonderful actress and a pioneer in her own right. We had our differences, but I always respected her talent and her contributions to the show." Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory of the Mary Tyler Moore Show? Let us know in the comments section below.